much. I just want to present my view and see what you have to say about it. So you take the Sethite view, which is the dominant interpretation right now. I'm not going to lie, right? But you were of the school of thought that Scripture should interpret Scripture, especially staying within the 66, right? Absolutely. So I would have to ask you, it's different for the New Testament because believers are now the sons of God. But I would have to ask you, what points in the Old Testament was sons of God, B'nai Elohim, given to men?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. I really do, Kovi. I think that's a fair point. The fact is that phrase, and I don't have all my sources up in front of me, but when I've studied this out in the past, that phrase is only a few times in the Old Testament in the first place.
Yeah, like
so I don't think we have enough sample size to. It'd be different if you like, man, 200 times and not one of them. I don't think the sample size is large enough to be definite. I think it's a fair point, but I don't think the sample size is large enough to come to a definite answer on that.
That's cool. That's your standard. I can completely agree with that. All right. Now, the second one is going to come from, again, within the 66. Everybody knows these verses, 2 Peter and Jude, right? If you want to go ahead and go to Jude, or Barine, if you want to share my screen, I can show this. I don't think he's there. He might have bounced.
Okay.
But in Jude, oh, there you go. All right, so there's two of them, right? Peter and Jude. Now, they both describe the situation where the angels sinned, right? And then God held them captive in Tartarus, right? Or hell, or however you want to say it. Now, that says in 2 Peter. Now, look how it says it in Jude. And I want your understanding on why you would use this as an example, right? So it says, now, I want to remind you everything once and for all that Jesus, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, the second time destroyed those who did not believe, and the angels who did not keep to their own domain, but deserted their proper dwelling place, right? That's how you said like they have a place where they should be. They shouldn't leave that. Okay, so they left it. Has kept in eternal bonds under deep gloom and judgment for that great day. And it says why? As Sodom and Gomorrah and the towns around them indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire in the same way as these are exhibited as an example by undergoing punishment of eternal fire. And then he goes on saying that scholars agree that these are at least about the same thing, right? Scholars at least agree there. But the only time that the angels sinned in that fashion was the reason for the flood, because they came down. So I would just, the main question is, why would it go from the angels' sin to Sodom and Gomorrah as the example for that?
Yeah, I think I don't think that the text mentions the angels' sin. I really don't. We know that the angels fell from their first estate. I think the Bible is absolutely clear here. And I think, why wouldn't Jude just mention? I mean, Jude, if you study that passage, Jude is bringing out several passages. He's being clear. He says Sodom and Gomorrah. He could have easily have said in the days of Noah or when the angels did. He did not. And so, although I think that I can understand how people can come to that conclusion, the text doesn't say it just doesn't. And again, it's not that I don't think it's a fair argument. I think it's a fair question. But if we're honest, the text doesn't say why. Jude could have very easily solved this problem for us, just as he mentioned what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. He could have mentioned what the angels did. He never mentioned that the angels slept with any women, and he definitely doesn't mention. Why wouldn't he mention these android children's? These beasts that God didn't create, that come about through angels and men outside of God's sovereign purpose. That I think that's problematic. Again, yeah. I think it's a fair, but by them being next to each other, I can see how somebody can try to point to that, but that's not explicit either.
Okay. So two things with that, right? One, sure. This is the main position on this. So I'm in the minority here, but it says that, like this highlighted part says, the observations are important. All Jewish traditions before the New Testament era took the supernatural worldview of Genesis 6:1-4, and that's where we can get the Christus Victor view of the atonement, right? That was one of the original explanations of the atonement. Later on, it changed on to all these other things. So in other words, they were in line with 2 Peter and Jude. The interpretation of the passage, at least with respect to its supernatural orientation, was not an issue until the late 4th century AD, when it fell out of favor with some of the influential church fathers, especially Augustine, right? So I can see how it changed. But if we're going to take the Bible at its word, the original interpretation for this would be more of the supernatural, and that would go into the explanation of the sons of God being divine beings. And then from there, we get into the entirety of the conquest of Joshua and the reason for harem, for devoting to destruction, on why they had to kill women, children, everything. You know what I mean?
If I may point out something in the Jude.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sharing my screen. Well, you got it on the screen already.
Yeah, let me get verse Jude.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, if we start at verse 3 and read into that. So Jude made the point of why he mentioned the angel. So we don't have to speculate. And it didn't have anything to do with them creating some like android, human species. So Jude is if you want to say encouraging the church, if you want to be on guard for those false teachers that was among them that was claiming to be ministers